Hello, my name is JB and I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Today I'm going to be talking about my education journey. I am 38 years old and for the last 20 years I have been pursuing my bachelor's degree. And I finally got that in 2022 and now I have a master's degree. But I'm going to talk about the road to get here. I'm originally from North Carolina, grew up born in Charlotte, grew up in Monroe, which is right outside of Charlotte. And I did really well in school, all throughout school, from preschool all the way to 12th grade. I did very well, better than most. And I wanted to go to college. That was my dream. I had plans about what I wanted to become. And I had these ideas from the time I was very young. Um, I wanted to be a lot of different things, but I wanted to be a newspaper reporter. I wanted to be a TV reporter. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a historian. I wanted to be a lawyer. A lot of different things, but they're all kind of related. But in 1996, my mother got cancer in fifth grade, when I was in the fifth grade, and it created a lot of financial problems because the bills were huge, and my parents spent like 20 years trying to pay back the money or pay off the money, pay off the bills. And since they were spending so much on those bills, they didn't have money for a lot of other things like food and clothing. Housing was, they always paid the bill, but sometimes late. Um, but a lot of other things were just off the table. I ended up getting neglected some, uh, sometimes a lot, and because I wasn't the favorite one, so I wasn't the priority, put it like that. But going to college just wasn't an option because they didn't have the money. They don't really value college. They don't think about college as being important. They didn't. My mother's no longer with us. She died in 2018. But they didn't think that education was important. They just said you just need to go work and work hard and make a lot of money and you'll be fine. It'll be great. And it used to be possible to do that, you know, in our country a long time ago. But their way of thinking was, oh, just work hard and everything will be fine. You'll be great. And but that's not the way it works, unfortunately. But since they weren't able to help me and they weren't supportive, they didn't even want to fill out the FAFSA forms when I tried to go to college. That's where I turned 18 and graduated high school. Graduated early. They weren't supportive. I should back up and say that when I was in 10th grade, I took a couple of college classes through my school, and so I had a few college credits even when I was in high school, which actually makes my journey even longer. It goes back all the way to 2002 or 2001, 2001. Um, so that makes it even longer. So it makes it like 22 years now. But they didn't even want to help me fill out the FAFSA forms. They thought that meant if they filled out the FAFSA form that they were going to have to owe money somehow. And I explained to them that was not the case. They said, well, we don't want to give our financial information away because we're private people. I said, you're not giving it away. It's the government's. You're just helping the government get it. The government already has it, but they just need you to verify it. They didn't want to do that. And it was just a big headache. But after I graduated high school, I started working for my uncle doing tile and marble. And the company started around 1955, a little bit earlier if you take in another family member who um, started doing tile even earlier than that, um, before my grandfather who started the company. But he had told me, my uncle had told me when I was in high school, don't worry, Jarrett, I'm going to make sure you get to go to college. So he was going to pay for it. And then I started working for him, and he changed his story. He said, I can't pay for it. You just need to work hard and save your money. You can go to college, pay for it yourself. And the reason was that he just really needed me, and he liked my work because I was a good worker. I was a hard worker, and I made him a lot of money because he wasn't paying me very much, um, and he didn't want to have to retrain someone else and then pay my tuition for college. And my aunt, who worked at that company too, supposed to be a family company, but oh shit, not really. But she said, "Oh, you'll feel better if if you pay for it yourself." And I said, "I don't care about feeling good. I just want to go to college." And she said, um, "You'll be more proud if you do it yourself." And I told her, "Well, it's going to take me 20 years." Well, she said, "In 20 years, you'll be really proud." And she was a bitch, and she still is. She's still alive. But it, but I ended up having to pay for it myself, and it's taken me 20 years, at least, depending on how you count. Uh, but so when I was working for my uncle, I tried to go to the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Um, and I went there. I signed up for a class. I went to the class a couple of times, but the problem that I had was that I was working for my uncle, so uh, our work usually ended at 5 or 5:30 or 6, and my classes started at 6, so I had a hard time getting from wherever we were in the Charlotte area to UNC Charlotte to my class on time. And plus, when I went to class, I was dirty. I had mud all over my shoes. I had dust all over me. I looked like shit. I had thin set grout all over my clothes. My hands were dried out from using different materials, and I was tired too because I had been working all day since I think at those times we started work at 6:30 in the morning, so I had been working 12 hours, or most of that time I had been working, and so that just didn't work for me. So I wasn't able to do that, and that was in the fall of 2000 or the spring of 2000, no, the fall of 2004 is when I did that, and that just didn't work out. So in the let's see, I didn't go to college for a while. I just kept working for my uncle for 2 years, starting in May of 2004 until the late summer of 2006. But in 2005, I started going to Piedmont Community College, which is in downtown Charlotte. And that was a lot easier for me to get to because the person I was working with could just drop me off on his way home from wherever we were working, or he could drop me off at some other place and I could just take a bus to the campus because it was centrally located and I could get there. Still had some of the same problems with being dirty and having mud on my shoes and being dusty and looking like shit, but I just did it. And there were some times where I tracked mud into the school, and people noticed it and they weren't happy about it. But I just said, "Hey, I'm sorry," and I just kept doing it. But I always did my best not to track mud, but that was a problem. And but I took classes at night. I think I took 3 classes each semester for 2 semesters, and then the summer I took maybe 1 or 2 classes for a year from 2005, from the summer of 2005 until the beginning of the summer of 2006. So 3 semesters, 2 full semesters, and a summer semester. And I did okay in those classes. I don't know exactly what my GPA was. Maybe something like 3.6, 3.5. I have to look, but something like that. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great because I didn't really study that much. I never have studied. Even after that, I didn't study very much. I never studied before it. But I would read the book, whatever chapter we were reading. I would read it once, and that was it. And I would go to the lectures and I would listen to the instructor and remember as much as I could, and then I would take the test and I would do fine. And I would do the homework. Always did the homework. and I did it pretty well. And that was never a problem. And I was interested in some of the classes, like the history class and geography and Spanish. I was really interested in those, so I didn't have a problem there. But there were others like religion. I was just not interested at all because I'm agnostic. I don't really care. I don't know and I don't care. So I think I made a C in that class. It was sort of interesting because there were some religions that I never heard of that I wanted to know more about, but uh, didn't care too much. And I generally did well, and it was a good experience because I like being downtown Charlotte. They call it Uptown. I like being near Uptown Charlotte. I liked that there was restaurants on campus, so after work I could go eat something and then go to class. Um, I liked meeting people my age because that has always been a problem for me. But I was around people who were my age, and some older, some a little bit younger, but not much. That was cool, and I thought the professors were really interesting and really amazing because they um, went to all these great colleges and they knew so much and they had so much life experience and um, they could explain the subjects really well and they had all these stories and so that was cool. And I left. I stopped going to school for a while because I left and I went to Arizona. And in Arizona, I went to Pima Community College, which was in Tucson, still is. And there, I started taking political science classes because I was really interested in that. And I took some other classes, like a couple at a time, um, for a semester. And then after the summer of 2007, I was able to apply for financial aid on my own without my parents because I was 20, I think, because I was 21. No, I was 20. But for some reason, I didn't need my parents anymore. I think it was uh, that I think the age was either 20, it might have been 21, I don't remember. But another thing was that I had been in foster care for many years, so I in some ways, depending on the law, how you look at the law, in some ways I wasn't in my parents' care, so they weren't actually my guardians. But in some ways they were. I think they were my legal guardians, but they weren't my actual guardians. But anyway, I was allowed to do it on my own and just put in my own information, and I didn't make very much. And I was able to get loans, so I went to school for 2 semesters, the fall of 2007, spring of 2008, full time. And I really enjoyed that. I had to pay out of state tuition, which I didn't like, but it was still cheaper than going to a university. Um, but I really liked the classes I took. Like I said earlier, I was taking a lot of political science and history classes, and also the other classes that are required. There's some you have to take whether you like it or not. I took those, but I really enjoyed uh, learning from the professors and hearing about all these things in the world because I had originally been from North Carolina and the way my parents were, they were very closed-minded and they're not interested in the world and they don't know about different countries or different states and they haven't traveled and not curious about anything intellectually. And there wasn't much thought or discussion or you know any interesting exchange of ideas in our house when I lived with them. For a lot of my childhood, I did not live with them, but even in those places when I wasn't living with them, there wasn't much intellectual um, discussion, and education wasn't very high on anyone's priority except mine. But so I really enjoyed being in college, and I liked learning about different subjects and being able to share my understanding, through my assignments and stuff. And I liked the lectures, especially the ones where we were involved, students were involved, where we were asked to share our opinions and our thoughts and our ideas and ask questions. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed debates and discussions, especially with people I disagreed with. People I agreed with, pretty boring, because I already know what they're thinking. And even the people I disagree with, I usually knew where they were coming from and had an idea of what they were thinking, how they were thinking. But I like to be able to debate on the fly and have those discussions. So that was really awesome. And I did well at Pima. I don't know what my GPA was, but I think it was like 3.8 or something. There was a couple classes that I just not very interested in. And like I said, I never studied. I would just read the book once, go to the lectures, take the test. You know, I did a good job on papers and different assignments that we had and stuff like that. So I did well without that much effort, um, because I like to read, but I like to read what I like to read. I don't like to read what the professor tells me to read because um, a lot of times it's not exactly what I was interested in. And even if it was, I was usually reading something else anyway that I was more interested in. And plus, like, when you read, you have to concentrate. And that's a problem for me because I think about a lot of different things all at once. So, good thing that I was able to capture information really efficiently and recall it, um, and process it. Uh, so that worked out for me. But let's see, after 2008, in spring of 2008, I moved to Kansas, but in spring of 2009, I took some classes online from Pima. Two classes, I believe. One was history. I don't recall the other. But they were fun. I did well. It was my second introduction to taking class online because another class that I had taken in 2007, I finished it online even though it was an in-person course. The professor or the instructor allowed me to finish it, and he's still someone I talk to every once in a while, even today, and that's been a really long time. But he allowed me to finish it back then online. Even that was before people were doing that. But he would just send me the assignments. I would do the work. I'd send it back, and he ended up giving me full credit. And I got an A in his class, and it was really cool. And but like 2009, I finished those classes online because that's when online learning was really starting to get kind of thing, and people were doing it, and colleges felt comfortable doing it, and there were platforms for doing it and all that stuff. And so yeah, I took a couple classes online, but then for a couple of years I didn't get to take classes because I was working at a meat packing plant in Kansas. I was working a lot. We usually work 6 days a week, and it was usually like 8 to 10 hours or longer. But I had a hard time getting to work because there was no public transportation, so I had to usually wait for this taxi that picked everybody up for like $5 a day, or I had to walk all the way to a friend's house who would take me to work and then drive me back, and I would pay the friend. But I just didn't have that much time to learn, and I didn't know where to go to school because we had a community college in Kansas, but they didn't offer very many classes, and um, I think all their classes, most of them at least, were in person, and it wasn't too terribly far from where I live, but the classes were in the morning, and I worked all night, not all night, but I worked like let's say 2 to 12 or 2 to 1, and then I usually stayed up a couple hours, so um, I would have been sleeping during the time that the classes took place. So I didn't take classes from that community college. But then in 2012, I took some classes from Fort Hays State, and by that time I already had more than 60 credits. So let's say 2 years of classes. I had like 2 years of college, but I started taking some classes from Fort Hays and did really well. Really enjoyed it because these were political science classes, and that's what I was really interested in. And I wrote really good papers. I was becoming a much better writer because I had been doing that on my own teaching myself how to become a writer. I'd taken some college classes, but what I really learned about writing, I taught myself through practice mostly. But I was becoming a really good writer, and I was really understanding the subjects, and I was getting really good at explaining my ideas. And so I did well. But then 2013, I took a job working for the newspaper in Dodge City, Kansas. Even though I didn't have a college degree, I got a job at a newspaper. And I worked there for about a year. It wasn't full time, it was mostly whenever they needed me. And sometimes they needed me to write a lot of stories, and sometimes they didn't need me to write very many, or any. And I also worked for the Dodge City Law professional indoor football team, and that was a whole fiasco. But I wrote stories about the team, the organization, the players, the games, everything, just to promote the team. I wrote stories for them and promoted them online and shared them to news outlets and all sorts of things. And so I helped them build their brand, basically. And I helped them with social media and everything else. And I did a lot of other office stuff, like helping the owner and general manager um, with the business, basically. And on game days, I would do lots of different things. I would answer phones and help people find their seats and just do all sorts of things throughout the stadium arena. But then in 2014, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, again, where I was originally from. Lived there for a year and a half, and I just worked. I wanted to go to college, but I didn't want to fill out the FAFSA form and then figure out how to get to class every night. Would my boss let me off in time to get to class? Would my bus get me there in time? A lot of just logistical issues. And so I didn't take classes. But then I went to Alaska for a while in 2016 for the summer, and I came back for the fall of 2016, and I took several classes from Fort Hays State University, where I was before in Kansas, and I took them online while I was just working random jobs, just to take up time, make a little money, and I did well, and I really enjoyed it. But I couldn't afford to just stay in school and just work these bullshit jobs that are paying $10, $12, $15 an hour. So I went to Alaska full time. And I was up there in Alaska for a year and a half at this place called Dutch Harbor. And I was supervisor, basically, in a seafood processing plant. And I worked all the time. Because we worked up to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for months straight. And then we had time off for usually a month, month and a half. We could do whatever we wanted, but that wasn't a good time to take college classes, so I didn't take any. But like all during this time, except for when I was taking regular credit hour classes from colleges and universities, I was taking all sorts of other non-credit classes, so it wasn't going on my transcript. I just wanted to learn, just interested, and mostly they were history, political science, law, and just other things that were interesting to me. All sorts of them. I think I took something like 50 different ones, and took them through like Ed2Go and Coursera, and they used to have this thing called the Center for Legal Studies. It's owned by a bigger education company now, but the Center for Legal Studies. So I took law classes like paralegal and legal secretary and legal investigations and stuff like that. And what else was that other one? Alternative dispute resolution. So I was always trying to learn more, even if I wasn't in college classes. But after I was in Alaska for about 2 years, however long that was. I year and a half after I was in Alaska, I decided that I just wanted to have a regular life, and I wanted to have. I didn't want to live in seafood plants housing. I wanted to live on my own again because I'd always done that. So I wanted to do that again, have my own place, and have a regular job and be able to do things after work. So I moved to Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I started working at a meat packing plant. And it was terrible, just like all the other seafood processing, meat packing, and warehouses and factories that I worked at. They're just the same sorts of issues. And I was very vocal about safety issues. And a lot of bad things happened. And eventually I took a deal where they paid me some money to quit. They paid me to quit because I was teaching other people about their rights, which I had been doing for a long time anyway. But then 2020, after I took that deal, that's when the pandemic came, COVID-19. And when that happened, it created a lot of problems. But it also created opportunity. It created the opportunity for me to go to school full time, and so I did. And in August of 2020, I went full time, and I just kept going full time until I finished. And that was in May of 2022. I did really amazing work for a lot of different reasons. I think one of the reasons is that I was older. So I actually had, I'm very educated. Even if I didn't have a college degree, I'm already very educated, more than most people. And the reason is because I educated myself. I read books. I used all different sorts of resources, the internet, the good sites on the internet, not the shithole, not the what do you call this, the rabbit hole, not those sites, but good sites, trusted sites. And I just taught myself as much as I could. And I did all the other education, non-credit education through really good universities. But I was doing really good work. I still wasn't studying, still. But I was very interested in doing the work, and I took the time. And I focused less on work, actual work, hourly wage work, and more on my education. And I really focused on understanding what I was being taught and being able to write it and explain it. Um, and I finished in May 2022. I think my entire undergraduate GPA was something like 3.7. It's not that impressive because some people do 3 or 4.0, but it was good enough. And those last couple of semesters were nothing but A's for me, and I know that my professors, they were very impressed with my work, and they weren't used to seeing that sort of work from an undergraduate. And I was very proud of how well I did in all my undergraduate studies, but especially the last 2 years from 2020 to 2022. I know I was doing really good stuff. I don't think anybody I was in class with during that time had anywhere near the writing ability that I had, and they didn't have life experience that I had. Even people that were older than me, they didn't have the understanding of the subjects, because I took a lot of classes that I was really interested in, like history and political science and some law type classes. So I just did really well. And I was really proud of it, and I was really happy because, like I said, I started in 2001 when I was in high school taking those classes from the community college, South Piedmont Community College, and then more than 20 years later, I got my 4-year degree. Right? Took me, depending on how you count, either 21 or 18 years to get a 4-year degree. Either way, it's a long time. Um, and I wish that I had been able to go to school, to college full time right after high school, because of the fact that, uh, you know, I would have got to have all of those college type experiences that people have, living in a dorm, meeting new friends, um, making adult decisions. I actually did that because I lived on my own, but making adult decisions, meeting girlfriends. In my case, it would have been uh, meeting people at the school, like professors, and learning about them, and hopefully getting opportunities from them, or learning about opportunities that I could create for myself. And I think that if I had gone to a regular 4-year college, you know, I could have become a professional at age 22 instead of age 38. I mean, actually, I became a professional earlier than that, but my main job for all these years has been working in factories and processing plants, meat packing plants, and stuff like that. But I think if I'd gone to college right away, I could have, I don't know, I think that I would have taken history and political science and those sorts of classes, and maybe I could have gone on to law school very young, at 22, and become a lawyer. Um, but I think probably what I would have done is just done what everybody else in my area, Charlotte, North Carolina, did, which was go work for one of the big banks. I might have done that, and I might have um, made a lot of money, and I might have, bought a home when I was 22. Um, and I actually had opportunities to do that, but I was told not to. Said it's not a good idea, even though the houses back then were like $20,000, and I had 10,000 in the bank. That would have been nice to do that, but I did. But I could have had a house, could have got married, maybe had kids, could have by now had 20 some years of experience in my industry, be highly respected. I still am highly respected, but not in an industry where I make money. Um, and my life would have just been a lot different if I had gone to college, I believe. So the questions I always ask is, where could I have gone? Who could I have met there? And what could I have become? And the world may never know. The world will never know because it didn't happen. I didn't get to go to college. But one thing that I did do is I did not quit because I wanted to be educated. I educated myself, but I also went to the educational institutions, the colleges and universities, and I got my education there. And in May 2022, I got the sheet of paper that says that I'm educated. The bachelor's degree in general studies, concentration in political science, and it's a very expensive piece of paper, but I got it. And I'll always be proud of it, and I'll always be grateful to Fort Hays State University for being a leader in online education because they've done that before other people, and for also having it's not free, but it's a lot cheaper than a lot of other places. The tuition a lot more reasonable, and people all over the world, anywhere in the world, can take classes from Fort Hays State University. It's just a small university in the middle of Kansas, in the middle of the country, but they've really opened up educational opportunities to people all over the state of Kansas, the country, the United States, and all over the world. So it's a good thing. And I did not get to go to my graduation in Kansas. I did watch it online, and they said my name, and I was really proud, and I smiled. I was here in my apartment by myself, and I smiled. But my dad didn't watch it, didn't care, wasn't interested, didn't mean anything to him. My mom, like I said, is not alive. She would have been really happy for me, and I think she would have been proud. I think she would have better understood what it meant, and especially the fact that I did it over 20 years. I think that it would have really meant something to her, but she didn't get to see it. And all my grandparents except one were dead by that point. Um, my other grandparent just never been interested in anything other than watching HBO and Cinemax. My grandma, still alive, she's never been interested. So I told her, but I didn't get a response. I just sent her a letter, a postcard telling her, and no response. Not even good job, congratulations, proud of you, nothing. Just like always, nothing. But I know what I did, and a lot of other people know I did, and I'm proud of it. But then right after I got my um, bachelor's degree, I actually before I got my bachelor's degree, when I was in my last semester, which was the spring of 2022, I applied to the University of Arizona. And at the University of Arizona, they have a master's degree in legal studies, and it's through the College of Law. So it's not law school, but it's through the College of Law, which is basically all the programs put together. And this degree is to help teach people about the law so that they can do jobs where they need to know about the law, but they don't need to be lawyers. All sorts of different jobs. But it's just a really good degree to have to show that you understand the law and that you can work with lawyers and other people on issues that affect companies or organizations or entities or that sort of thing. And so I applied to that, and I knew that I would be a strong candidate because I had a good GPA, and I had taken all sorts of other classes that weren't part of my degree program, but they were related to the law. So I had a long interest in the law, and I was a really good writer. I had really strong letters of recommendation from, there was one from a guy who went to Yale, Harvard, and Cambridge. He went to the Yale Law School. And he wrote an amazing letter of recommendation talking about how I had spoken to his MBA class, even though I didn't have a degree at that time. That was in 2021, December 2021. I spoke to his MBA class, and he wrote how I had held the students at the edge of their seats, teaching or sharing my ideas about ethical responsibility that employers have to their employees. And then I had a lawyer who I met on an airplane in 2021 write a really nice letter of recommendation about the person that I am based on what he's known about me. And even after we met on the airplane, we remained friends, and we remained in contact, and he got to know me really well. And then I had someone who I've known for more than 20 years write about the kind of person that I am. I had a friend that I used to be friends with his roommates, and I've been a supporter of an organization that he runs here in Kansas. Write about the person that I am, and also my commitment to my education. And then I had a lady that I had helped, or that we helped each other. We paired up to take on the leaders of a powerful organization. Well, it's not that powerful, but they had a lot of power. Those two leaders did. We took them on because they were corrupt, and they were doing a lot of things that were harmful to the members of the organization. And then I had a person who wrote a letter of recommendation for me. He was a professional basketball coach and a professional basketball scout for the LA Clippers, but we met online. He sent me an email asking me for information about this town in Mexico that I had been to, and I sent him the information, and I asked him why he wanted to know that, and he said because he was going to that town to find his parents, and they're not living, but he wanted to find out who they were. And I took it upon myself to write some things online and write some newspaper articles for online publishing, and to help do social media to help this guy find his family. And he eventually did find him, not because of me, but because of a DNA test. And but he was still very appreciative of all the work that I did. I used my own money, I used my own time, and we got the word out to, like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people, a lot of people. He became very well known. And so he wrote a letter of recommendation for me. And there were others. I think I only needed 2 that had 7. And I was really appreciative of all of them because they were all really strong and they were all really helpful, and they helped the college understand who I am. But then I found out I was actually going to Arizona just for a trip because I wanted to go to Tucson, because that's where the university was. University of Arizona is University of Arizona, and I had lived there before, like I told you, when I went to Pima. But I just wanted to go and visit, so I went and visited, and I went to a baseball game. I went to a gymnastics meet, and I tried to go to law school, but the law school was closed because it was spring break. But I got to go to the campus again, do all that stuff. And the very same day that I arrived to do that stuff, I received the email while I was on the plane. And I read it in the airport when I got off the plane that said that I got in. And I was really happy because I'd always wanted to go to that university. I'd always thought it wasn't going to be possible because I didn't have the money. And I thought my goal of getting an education was never going to happen. So when I got in, I was really happy. And I was able to get funding for that, for the program, so everything was locked in. And I started in the fall of 2022. It was a 30-course master's degree, 30-credit master's degree. And I was a little nervous at first, even though I had a lot of education. I was a good writer, and I knew a lot about the law. I was really nervous because I didn't realize how hard it was, or I didn't know how hard it was going to be. And I thought, oh my gosh, all these people are so much smarter than me, and they have a lot of the students more years professional experience, and some of them had already been doing law-related jobs like working as paralegals or compliance managers or contract administrators or doing other things. Some of them had degrees like medical degrees or engineering degrees. Smart people. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I've got into this program and I'm just going to fail. But that's not what happened. Instead, I made an A in 9 out of 10 classes, and in the one that I did make an A, I made a B. And the reason I made a B is because I didn't take part of the exam, the final exam, because I just didn't want to. I didn't like it. It was a property law class. But in all my other classes, I did really well. I enjoyed the study of the law, because I always have for many years. And I did really well at it. I liked the way that they had it set up. I took the classes online, but the lectures were video lectures. I would watch the videos. We had to read a lot of cases, legal cases, but I would have the cases read to me using the online program, so I didn't have to worry about focusing and all that, and which has always been hard. And now I have vision problems. It's getting harder and harder for me to see. I have to use glasses, but I could do all that online. Listen to it, remember it, take the test, do the discussions, write the case briefs, write. I think we had a few papers. Some of the classes had papers. There was a lot of different writing that we did, but that wasn't a big deal for me. And I wrote it, and I did really well, and I knew it. I was doing well, and I was really interested in some of the classes. In one of the classes, I was the introduction to immigration law, and I knew a lot about immigration law because I've been all over Mexico and I've been in a lot of other countries, and I also what do you call it? I worked in the meatpacking plants and seafood processing plants for a long time, so I knew a lot of people who were from different countries all over the world, and I had some understanding of their immigration issues and stuff. And I was just really interested in that, and I was really interested in where immigration meets employment law, labor law, and so I one day looked up my professor, and I learned that her work is all about employment law and immigration. And I wrote her a long email about how my work had benefited my work advocating for workers and workers' rights while I was working in the plants and stuff, how it had benefited workers and workers who were from different countries. And she invited me to speak to her clinic. And this was a JD Workers' Rights Law Clinic. And I was in a master's degree program, which is slower than JD, and I wasn't even finished with it. And she invited me to come teach, guest lecture her class. And of course, I did it because I like to talk. And so I had to figure out what I was going to talk about, and I did. I wrote a really good 40-minute speech. I gave the speech um, in March of 2023, and it went really, really well, really well. And I got some nice notes and letters from her, from the professor, and um, I was really proud of being able or being invited in the first place. But I was really appreciative of the reception that I received, the way I was treated by the students, even though they were at a higher level than me. They were very attentive and they were very interested, and they asked good questions. And I got to interact with a lawyer who was part of the clinic, who for 30 some years was an attorney for the government, and she asked really good questions. And it was just a really great experience for me because I got to um, explain my ideas, and I have a lot of ideas, especially about workplace issues. And so it was awesome. But other things that I did where I participated in a class where they were doing depositions, and I was a mock witness, so people asked me questions, and um, they are attorneys. Some of them are not actually attorneys, but they have special license. But I think some of them do. And but they were acting as attorneys, and they asked me tough questions. I give them answers. I kind of try to not give them what they want, and they try to nail me down and try to get me to say what they want me to say. And we just had the back and forth, and a lot of fun. And one of the professor was a professor who, in the '90s, had a really big reputation because she represented an infamous client. And so just to be able to interact with someone of that level was really interesting. And then let's see, in the May of 23, this year that just passed, I became a teaching assistant. So I was a student in the master's degree program, but I was also a teaching assistant. So I was teaching assistant teaching, law classes in the BA program, the MLS program, and there were also some LLM um, students. So they're already lawyers, but just in other countries. So they're trying to get their LLM so they can become a lawyer in this country, take the bar exam, and become a lawyer. And they were all pretty impressive. The LLM students, especially the master's degree students. Some of them just wanted to do just enough to get their master's degree and go on. And they weren't that impressive. They're smart, but they just weren't that interested in it and didn't give a lot to it. And the bachelor's degree students, some of them very smart, some of them very capable, but a lot of them just did the bare minimum. And it was a lot of work just trying to get them to give effort. But I think I did really well as a teaching assistant because I helped them um, feel welcome, and I encouraged them, and I spent all the time that they needed. I gave them all the time they needed um, in office hours and answering emails and explaining things, even if it had already been explained over and over. I explained it again, and I just really did my best to encourage them and to help them reach their potential, and I think I did that. And my professor, after I was done with my last semester of being a teaching assistant, he wrote me a really nice um, letter saying that he would give me a letter of recommendation, email saying that he would give me a letter of recommendation, and I was really appreciative of that because he's getting an SJD from one of the top law schools in the country. So if he does one day write me a letter of recommendation, it's going to be really helpful, especially considering what he has said about me in the past. But I finished my last semester in the master's degree program. I did 3 semesters. Let's see. 4. Well, I did the fall of 2022, I took 3 classes. The spring of 2023, I took 3 classes. The summer, I took 2 classes. And in the fall, I took 3 of 2023. Even though I only needed 2, I took 3. And I did withdraw from one just because I'm not interested. Or actually, I was interested, but I just didn't want to give the effort. Sad to say, but I just didn't because I didn't need it. And I had a lot of other stuff going on. But I did well in all the classes. And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do that because I got to interact with law professors and lawyers and lots of other smart people, different teaching assistants that I worked with and students that I worked with, and it was just really exciting to me intellectually to be around people who use their brains. You know, I've gone through a lot of my life being around people who just they don't want to talk about things. They don't want to discuss things. They don't have ideas. They don't tell stories. They don't do anything. They just talk about dumb stuff like, is Michael Jordan better than LeBron James? Or where are we going to eat tonight? Or how many beers did you drink last week, Sunday? Or what are you going to buy at the mall with the money that you made this week? And these aren't big intellectual conversations. Maybe interesting to some people, but just not intellectual conversations. But I got to do the degree. I finished it. All the classes. Some of the cases that we read, they're hard to read because they're written a long time ago, hundreds of years ago. Some of them come from other countries, and the English that they use is just different. And there's just been different changes to the way the legal system works over time. Some of them are hard to read and hard to understand, but I did it, and I think a lot of other people can do it too. But it was really a good experience for me learning about different areas of the law, and just knowing that I can do it. I can do well in the law. And I got a lot of encouragement from my professors because they told me that I could and should be in the law school becoming a lawyer, and that they gave me all sorts of compliments about my writing ability, my ability to explain things and understand things, and my passion for the law. They said they would help me in different ways, including write letters of recommendation like I mentioned. And it was just an amazing experience because I thought for all those years it was never going to happen for me. I knew that I was worthy and that I could do it. I could get a master's degree, but I didn't never think it was going to happen. And I'm so glad that I got the opportunity, partly because of COVID, to finish my bachelor's degree and then get a master's. And now I'm going to start another master's in about a week, and master of human resources management. And then maybe after that, I will go to law school and try to become a lawyer. But it's been a very, very long road, as you can tell, because this is a 56-minute video. It's been a long road for me, and I wish that I would have had the opportunity to go to college when I was young. I actually wish that I would have dropped out of high school and just gone straight to college after getting a GED. I could have gotten a GED, gone straight to college, paid less money because I was under 18 or no money, and then gotten a college degree young, and then went straight ahead into whatever I was going to do, which I think would have been the law or journalism, writing, newspapers. But that's not what happened, and I ended up working for a long time in the meatpacking plants and the seafood processing plants and the factories and all these other places. But I learned a lot about workers' rights and employment and the relationships between employers and employees, and that ultimately did help me in the long run. It helped. It's part of who I am now. I'm a workers' rights advocate, and so I'm really proud of that. But I will always be grateful to the University of Arizona and the College of Law for believing in me, for giving me a chance, for giving me lots of opportunities to do lots of different interesting things, and to allow me to say that I'm a Wildcat and that I'm a graduate of the University of Arizona. So that's my journey. Tell me about your journey in the comments. And if you have any questions about my journey or just the journey of education in general, anything from how to fill out the FAFSA to what student loans are like to different ways to pay for college, grants and scholarships and all that stuff. How to pick a college, how to decide where you go, how to decide what your major is going to be. Anything you can ask me and I'll give you an answer. And if I don't have a good answer for you, I'll give you some resources so you can find a better answer for yourself. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.